Thank you. And now we continue our series of press briefings, briefings from the ETO area. Good afternoon, dear ladies and gentlemen. The ATO is in progress, and now we're operating Donetsk, Luhansk, Ilovaisko, Krasnolud, Shakhtar, Torez, Nizhny, Zugres, Orlivka, and Stanично Luhansk. Combated Luhansk, Ukrainian combatants captured two troopers machines of Pskov division of Pskov Airborne Division. In one of the vehicles, they found the full package of documents, license and military documents. The crew was assigned to military unit 74268 of the 1st Airborne Company of Pskov Division. And they found ID of the Guards Lieutenant Popov. The crew abandoned the vehicle. And during the offensive, Ukrainian forces destroyed 2 tanks of terrorists and 2 Grad units, which were used for shelling of the ATL positions and also residential areas in certain districts of Ilovaisk and Donetsk Oblast. The fighting is in progress. Ukrainian forces turned off the counterattacks of terrorists, and now the replenishment is on its way to the ATO forces. Luhansk Su-24M was down. So yesterday they said it was Su-25, Sukhoi 25, but now we have different precise information. Both pilots abandoned the aircraft. 35, they had fire contact at Georgievka, Lushki, Ambrosivka, Shevchenko, Solntsevo, Stukalo, Balka, Avdiivka, Makarova, Kamyshevacha, Ilovaisk, Zerkalne, Stanitsa, Luhanska. Russian forces continue to shell positions of ATO from their territory, from direction of Seleznevo settlement. Traditionally, artillery shelled at Ambrosivka area, at Vasilievka they shelled from Russian Mafinka. In addition to that, from the Russian territory they shelled at Blagodatna, at Ambrosivka and Kamyshevacha, Makarovishki, in Donetsk Oblast. For the Guards, register drones flights every day over the Azov shore, Sadovina, Azovsk, Mariupol, and also about the deployment of ATO. And this information on crossing by vehicles through the humanitarian aid. We can tell, and using information of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, there were no clearance procedures for any humanitarian aid. Ukrainian officials are ready to inspect the cargo as soon as they receive the signal from the Red Cross on the readiness to deliver the goods. The International Committee of Red Cross that is now responsible for all the logistics, and that includes the route of transportation, storage, and distribution of this aid in the territory of Ukraine, have to receive all the guarantees of safety for the cargo and escorts, and this should be provided by the terrorist groupings controlled by the Russian side and the Russian Federation itself and Ukraine. We have the synchronization is needed by the Red Cross of all supplies to civilians in Luhansk Oblast, and that includes the humanitarian aid provided by the Ukrainian side and other international and national players. As of the noon, clearance of Russian humanitarian cargo was in progress, but all the instructions are given to start this clearance as soon as everything is ready. And in Luhansk Oblast, another refugee vehicle was fired at by terrorists at Hreshyvate. According to eyewitnesses, they were flying a big white flag, but that didn't stop the terrorists at Krasnodonsk районом. There was a family with a 5-year-old. The kid and the father died immediately. The mother on the hands of Ukrainian soldiers. The chemical plant is shelled. No power. Kirov 1 mine with transmission lines destroying partial the administrative building of the mine. After shelling from the side of Lugansk, the transmission lines were destroyed, damaged at Shastia. Long since in control of the Ukrainian forces. The third unit of cogeneration plant was stopped. The Kalmiansk bridge was destroyed at Горбачево, Mikhailivka, Придорожник, Мичурово, Starobashev district in Donetsk Oblast. Terrorists once again fired at Kalmiansk filter station. It was left without power, and water supplies are limited because of that. And it's otherwise attack Miroslav Rokic, the Slovak, was apprehended, who helped the terrorists. The Ukrainian special services apprehended the Ukrainian citizens, and that lady was providing reconnaissance intelligence information to the terrorists. She is apprehended and now given is being interrogated. A special battalion of Ministry of Interior stopped one of the mob leaders who arranged checkpoint coordination. Also guards for terrorists, and now he's under investigation. President of Ukraine, Petro Poroshenko, had meetings with Deputy Secretary General of the UN, Jeffrey Feltman, who is now visiting Ukraine on assignment on Ban Ki-moon, Secretary General of UN. And our president expressed his gratitude to Secretary General for the efforts to de-escalate the situation in Donbass. Our president said that there's no internal conflict. People in Donetsk and Luhansk want peace, implementation of peace plan, and that was designed by us, identifies our actions. We are aware of the fact that it is not to be solved with military means alone, said the Ukrainian president. And he also added that there's an initiative of Ukraine to direct international humanitarian to Luhansk, which is under control of terrorists and now is on the verge of a humanitarian catastrophe. Valery Amos, Deputy Secretary General, will be visiting Ukraine the 21st, 24th of August, and will evaluate possible routes for humanitarian. On the 21st of August, a team of Southwestern Railway provided humanitarian aid to a temporary accommodation center for Volnovakha, Donetsk Oblast. Some of the cargo will be left there. The rest of it will be distributed to the centers, to settlers at Azov shore coast, where we have, according to interim estimations, 22,000 and people. 35 tons of foodstuffs have been provided, and all the first needs things and medical drugs for the first aid center at Persutrovneva. Tomorrow we will also receive a convoy with humanitarian aid from Dnipropetrovsk, 200,000 tons of cargo with the first necessity, grits, flour, sugar, fish and meats, canned fish and meats, and also baby food. Another fake from Zvezda, the Ministry of Defense medium. They accused the Ukrainian army of shelling the Makiivka from Tochka U unit in order to deliver it for the Independence Days. On the 21st, Ukraine is celebrating the Independence Day. We can see the missile. It's .O. That's a high-precision missile that was shot by Ukrainian commanders without any digital maps. There's no precision in such a hit. First information raised in international conference that the commanders are not prepared to be responsible. This is not only mentioned by Russian experts in the south of Ukraine. That will lead to a loss of thousands of peaceful civilians. And in fact, that was launched from Baikonur. In Kazakhstan on the 1st of July 2013, the original launch was, you can see it. This is not funny. This is quite tragic. This is a failed test of the Russian missile in Kazakhstan at Baikonur. This is a settlement not far from the testing field, and that's the point from which this was shot originally, back then, more than a year ago. So this is not Makiyevka. And we would like to draw attention to the shape of this cloud, smoke cloud, and the after effect of the explosion.
Будь ласка, порівняйте зараз картину.
So you can compare it now, the original picture and the picture used for the footage. It's the same thing. Makiyevka, Baikonur, in Russia, it's the same thing. Now, this is another.
This is a bright example of how the factory of Russian propaganda operates. Be very attentive to all the materials that come from Russian TV channel, from Russian media industry, and from terrorist information sources. You can get this video immediately after the briefing, and you can use it and use it for the future. That is all the official information. Your questions now. The information about the wounded and killed in the ATO zone, and second on convoy. Will this cargo be reloaded to some other trucks? And also talking about Lugansk, the local people say that they have not seen Ukrainian army anywhere there. First, during the last 24 hours, 5 Ukrainian military were killed, 21 wounded. Talking about convoy, how this convoy will be will be decided by the leadership of the Red Cross. And talking about Lugansk, there was information in the internet that local people do not see neither Ukrainian or terrorist representatives who are running along the streets. In fact, there is a big battle going on in the streets. You will not see Ukrainian tanks because Ukrainian military are working in small mobile groups in the streets, and they are eliminating the terrorists there. You will not see any offense there like in times of the Great Patriotic War. If the local citizens do not see them, that is actually very good, because the Ukrainian military, they are liberating the city, and peaceful citizens are not suffering from that. Yesterday there was information that besides the Su aircraft, there are 2 more helicopters also shelled. The details on the aircraft, that is Su-24. As to helicopters, we do not have any information on that. The question is about the parade on the 24th of August. Is that reasonable to have the military parade? People are saying that the equipment is needed in ATO zone. Can you tell, what do you believe, whether the equipment is needed there? Actually, the parade, I've emphasized that that's not the parade of victory, that's the parade to commemorate our warriors who are in the east of our country, who are liberating the territory. And that is just to prove all the world and Ukrainian people that Ukrainian army has powerful military equipment. Some of ATO forces, some of representatives of ATO forces will participate in the parade, those who are on vacations, to show that our guys are there. This will be a big moral support for our guys who are there, so that you understand that all the equipment that will participate in the parade, most of that will immediately after the parade go to ATO zone to strengthen our units. The equipment which will participate in the parade is not a decisive one during the military operations, but all that equipment will add to the strength in the offense to the cities where terrorists are now. Could you please say, you mentioned that today, that within the last 24 hours, 5 were killed, but Mr. Gerashchenko Anton wrote that in the battle for Ilovaisk, out of 4 battalions, 21 people were killed. These victims, are they included in one list, or battalions are separate and military are separate? We have the accumulated data for 24 hours. The law enforcement bodies submit this data to us. We received 5, the total from all law enforcement agencies. Another question. From yesterday, the map has changed. The territory controlled by Ukrainian forces is much bigger. Was there a large-scale offense? And then Sidov citizens heard 5 very powerful explosions, and that's pre-border area. Do you know anything about Sidov? I cannot comment on that. The territory controlled by terrorists is reduced. That's natural, because Ukrainians are in offense all the time. Despite all the counterattacks from militants, we are now using the tactics of cutting the ways to supply weapons to militants, blocking the main cities and villages where the forces of terrorists are, and also splitting into sectors where terrorists are. And we are working in each sector. Our units are given the task to work there. Everyone's responsible for their own sector. We do not have the general line of offense. We are working in separate points. No more questions. Thank you, Andriy. And we will get further information about ATO at 5. The next briefing of Pavlo Sheremeto will take place at 1:15.